Welcome and thank you for standing by. All participants will be in a listen-only mode until the question and answer session. During that time, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1. I'd like to inform all parties that today's call will be recorded. If you object, you may disconnect at this time. I'd now like to turn the call over to your host, Ms. Tanya. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Great. Thank you, Becca. Really appreciate your assistance. And good afternoon, everyone, and to those who are on the West Coast, good morning, and welcome to the fiscal year 2022 Small Dollar Loan Program pre-application webinar. Again, my name is Tanya McInnes. I am the program manager for the CDFI Funds Depository Institutions Initiative. We are the business unit within the CDFI Fund that manages the Small Dollar Loan Program. As a reminder, participants will be muted until we open the phone lines for questions at the end of the presentation. Next slide. And next slide, please. Our agenda for this webinar includes the following. I'll give everyone an overview of the Small Dollar Loan Program staff. I'll also provide an overview of the Small Dollar Loan Program. We'll then talk about the application logistics, and we'll, at the end, we'll open the line up for your questions. Again, we will not cover the application components, submission, and review. We will also not recover or cover instructions on how to enter data into the application in the awards management system, also known as AMIS. Next slide, please. All right, so I want to give everyone a little overview of the staff. So as of 2 weeks ago, we are now a staff of 3. So we're growing. As I stated a few seconds ago, I am Tanya McInnes. I'm the program manager. Julie Sandler is the Senior Program and Management Analyst, and Michael Fulton is our Management and Program Analyst. Mike joined us 2 weeks ago, and we're really excited to have him on the team. And Mike is actually helping with navigating the slides for today's webinar. And Julie, you'll hear from in a few minutes. Next slide, please, Mike. Great. I just want to spend a few minutes giving you an overview of the program, particularly those who may be listening and hearing about this program for the first time. So the Small Dollar Loan Program was actually authorized by the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010. We have approximately 11, this amount has changed in just the past couple of days. So we will probably have about $11.3 million available for this year's funding round. Obviously, when we release the NOFA and publish the NOFA, the Notice of Funds Availability, it'll have what that amount is. The Small Dollar Loan Program was created to help certified community development financial institutions, also known as CDFIs, address the issue of expanding consumer access to mainstream financial institutions, and to also provide alternatives to high-cost small dollar loans. And the program was also created to help the unbanked and underbanked build credit, gain access to affordable capital, and again, gain greater access into mainstream financial institutions. Next slide, please. Per the Small Dollar Loan Program statute, the grants can only be used to support small dollar loan programs that offer small dollar loans to consumers that do not exceed $2,500, that must be repaid in installments, have no prepayment penalties, and the payments must be reported to at least one of the consumer reporting agencies. Next slide. The statute also stipulates that there are 2 eligible uses of the awards. So the Small dollar loan program awards can be used for loan loss reserves to cover the cost of losses associated with starting a new small dollar loan program or expanding an existing small dollar loan program. The awards can also be used for technical assistance, for technology, staff support, and other costs associated with establishing a new small dollar loan program or expanding an existing small dollar loan program. Please note, per the statute, that our grants cannot be used to make direct loans to consumers. Next slide, please. And just to give you a few examples of how successful award recipients propose to use their awards, we provide 4 examples here. I'm not going to go through each one. Please note that in the next few days, we will post this presentation to our website so that you'll have full access to it. So here again are just some of the examples of successful award recipients on how they're going to use the money. The first one talks about how they're going to use the award, specifically the Loan Loss Reserve Award, to attract additional capital to make more small dollar loans. And then we have another successful recipient who is going to use their TA award to partner with a technical services company to help with their processing, their back office operations, modernizing their back office operations. Next slide, please. I want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about applicant eligibility. Again, the statute is pretty explicit in describing applicants who are eligible to apply for and receive awards. And so you must be a certified CDFI to apply for a small dollar loan program award. So you could apply individually as a certified CDFI, or you can apply as a partnership between a certified CDFI and a federally insured depository institution, what we call a FIDI, with a primary mission to serve targeted investment areas. And then the third eligible applicant type is partnerships between 2 or more certified CDFIs. Next slide. And then the statute goes into a little bit more detail about applicant eligibility based on the award type. So, again, per the statute, if you're interested in applying for and receiving a loan loss reserve award, those are eligible to certified CDFIs applying individually or between a partnership between a certified CDFI and a FIDI. Again, that's a federally insured depository institution with a primary mission to serve targeted investment areas. If you're interested in a TA award, eligible applicants are certified CDFIs applying individually or partnership between 2 or more certified CDFIs. And if you're interested in applying for both a loan loss reserve award and a technical assistance award, eligible applicants are only certified CDFIs. Next slide, please. So our awards will not be eligible to programs or products that have the following lending practices and loan characteristics. This information is also in our NOFA and goes into more detail in the NOFA. But just at a very high level, again, our awards will not support small dollar loan programs that have high rate loans, that have coerced automatic loan payments, that have an excessive number of refinancings, that have loan add-ons such as credit insurance, that require security interest, that have excessive late fees on missed loan payments, that have abusive overdraft practices, and that have aggressive debt collection practices, and that have forced arbitration clause and class action ban requirements. Again, we go into more detail in the NOFA and provide descriptions on each of these prohibited practices. Next slide. The program also talks about the preferred loan characteristics and lending practices, and the CDFI fund will prioritize funding for applications that propose to offer these preferred lending characteristics and loan practices, and they include if you offer loan terms that are at least 90 days, if you have ability to repay underwriting that considers the borrower's ability to repay based both on their income and their expenses, that you make loan decisions within 24 hours. Next slide, Mike. That you offer a reduction in the borrower's loan rate if the borrower elects to use automatic debit payments. If there are automatic saving features built into the regularly scheduled payments on the loan, and if you offer access to financial education and credit counseling. Again, these are preferred lending practices and loan characteristics that we would like to see in your programs if you don't already have them and you're considering them. Next slide, please. Now, to talk a little bit about program award sizes. So we do have minimum and max award sizes for the awards. So if you're interested in a technical assistance award, those award amounts range from $10,000 to a max amount of $150,000. And if you're interested in a loan loss reserve award, those amounts will be based on your projected, your 3-year projected loans to be closed, not to exceed $350,000. And so if you request both a technical assistance award and a loan loss reserve award, then the maximum award amount you can receive is $500,000. And we based our award sizes on the following factors. We, of course, conduct our due diligence review based on information provided in your application, including the requested amount that you are seeking. We also review your 3-year projections. We look at the preferred lending practices and loan characteristics stated in your application, as I discussed just a few seconds ago. And based on all of that information, you're assessed a risk rating. So those are just a high-level overview of some of the factors that we look at when we review your application. Next slide, please. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Julie, who's going to speak more about the application process. Julie?
Thanks, Tanya. Can everyone hear me? Good. I'll take that as a yes. The application, so I'll talk about the application process and how do you submit your application and all the steps that you will be going through. The application process is a 2-step process that requires the submission of 2 separate documents with 2 separate deadlines and are submitted through 2 different online systems. The 2 major parts of your SDL program application are the standard Form 424, I'll refer to it as the SF424. That's submitted through grants.gov. This form starts your application. The second larger component is the SDL program application. This is submitted through AMIS. It will ask information about your organization, such as financial data, plans for the small dollar loan products you currently offer or plan to offer, and your organization's objectives for your small dollar loan program award. Next slide. Like I said, we have two separate deadlines. So the submission deadlines for the 22 application will be published in the NOFA. For the first deadline, 30 days after the NOFA is published, you will submit your SF424 through grants.gov. Also 30 days after the NOFA is released, you should ensure your EIN and UEI are in AMIS and SAM.gov. And then finally, 60 days after the NOFA is published, the SDL program application will be due in AMIS. Next slide. So getting started, make all these submissions, fill out these forms. First things first is you'll need to obtain your EIN and UEI and update those numbers across the systems I'll be talking about. It's important that all applicants obtain their UEI, Unique Entity Identifier, in SAM.gov. As a side note, UEI might be a new term for many of you. Your UEI replaces your DUNS number. In April 2022, federal government stopped using DUNS numbers to identify entities. The CD5 fund automatically populated all AMIS accounts with the UEI if there was an active AMIS account as of March 2022 when the transition began. However, as part of the application process we are reviewing today, you should still confirm that the EIN and UEI align across SAM.gov, grants.gov, and AMIS. So again, the three systems we'll be talking about today: SAM.gov, that's where your UEI is created; grants.gov, where your SF424 will be submitted; and AMIS, where you will submit your program application. I also encourage you at this time to refer to the 2021 NOFA and application materials on the SDL program website. Next slide. So again, just to reiterate, the correct EIN and UEI numbers should be updated across all systems. The CDFI fund will reject an application if the EIN and UEI in an applicant's AMIS account does not match what is in its SAM account. The deadline for this to be created is 30 days after the publication of the NOFA. The EIN and UEI should be that of the applicant. Applications submitted with the EIN or UEI of a parent or affiliate organization will be rejected. Next slide. So the first system you'll be going to is SAM.gov. For applicants that do not currently have an active SAM account, it is recommended you allow ample time to complete the registration and submission process well in advance of the SF424 deadline. Again, SAM.gov is where the UEI number is created. Existing users should review the SAM.gov account to ensure the information is up to date. If you're unable to register in SAM.gov and get your UEI, you will not be allowed to submit your SF424. If the SF424 is not submitted and it also has to be validated, the applicant will not be able to submit materials in AMIS and your application will be deemed ineligible. So again, we really encourage you to submit the SF424 as early as possible in grants.gov with the information you receive from SAM, since submission issues may impact your ability to submit the overall application. The CDFI fund does not manage SAM.gov or grants.gov, so we cannot respond to any questions related to these systems, and you should refer to their websites to communicate directly with them. Next slide. Grants.gov, this is where you will submit your 424, SF424. This is the only document that is submitted via grants.gov. The SF424 must be submitted under the correct program funding opportunity number. SF4 submitted under incorrect funding opportunity numbers will be deemed ineligible. If the amount of the SDL program award requested in the SF424 differs from the amount requested in the applicant's AMIS application, the CDFI fund will only consider the amount requested in the AMIS application. Next slide. So for this slide, I know there's a lot of information. The key takeaways are all applicants must be registered in AMIS, and this is where you will ensure your EIN and UEI is updated 30 days after the NOFA deadline. If you fail to register, your organization in AMIS by the deadline, your application will be deemed ineligible. 60 days after the NOFA is published, you'll be returning to AMIS to submit the SEL program application, and any supporting documents will be submitted via AMIS. Applicants are required to designate at least one authorized representative and one point of contact in AMIS in order to submit the application. The authorized representative will be the one electronically signing the application within AMIS. An applicant that fails to properly register and update its AMIS account may miss important communications from the CDFI fund or possibly fail to submit an application successfully. So we encourage you to make sure your information is set in AMIS as well as SAM.gov and grants.gov. And with that, I will now turn the presentation back over to Tanya for questions and next steps.
Great, thanks, Julie. All right, so that was a lot of information we shared with you in a short period of time. As I stated earlier in the call, we will post this presentation and the recording to our website so that you can access it at a later time. And so there are 3 ways to contact us if you have any follow-up questions. Stated here, you can submit a service request. That's actually the preferred option and the best way to reach us. Again, you can submit a service request. You can email us at the email address listed here, or you can call the CDFI Fund Help Desk. So again, it's a lot of information. Please, once we post everything to the website, please review the information, and after digesting it all, you need to reach out to us. We are here and want to help you and assist you. So just reach out to us. For the next steps, please watch out for the NOFA publication in the Federal Register. Hopefully you all are registered with GovDelivery to make sure that you get the latest information about what's going on with the small dollar loan program, any additional webinars we may have, CDFI Fund announcements, et cetera. And there's a link here on this page on how that you can access and provides instructions on how you can subscribe to the GovDelivery to make sure you get these notices. So again, next steps are that we will publish a NOFA, and then that will kick things off for this 22 funding round. And with next slide, please, Mike. And with that, that concludes our presentation. We want to really thank you all for participating in today's webinar. And we will now open the line up for questions.
Okay, and at this time, if you'd like to ask a question, please press *1 and clearly record your first and last name for your question to be introduced. Again, that is *1 if you have a question at this time. Thank you.
I think I did see one question come through asking, does the TA need it to be provided by the CDFI directly, or can it be provided by the partner? So if I'm understanding this question correctly, the TA, the recipient of the TA award needs to provide the TA to their small dollar borrowers. So it cannot be provided by a partner. It must be provided by the certified CDFI receiving the Small Dollar Loan Program award. So I hope I answered that question. If not, please chime in and let me know.
Okay, and we do have a question over the phone. It comes from Deborah Harris. Your line is now open.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hi Deborah, how are you?
Hi everybody, awesome Awesome presentation. My question is there any matching funds required?
No. The statute waived matching funds for this program. So, yes, that's not required.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Elliot Church. Your line is now open. You may ask your question.
Hi, this is Alan Upchurch. Just a quick question. I may have missed it. When will the NOFA be available, please?
Hi, Alan. We plan to open the round probably later this spring. So we don't have an exact date yet, but we are hoping that it will happen soon. So, again, I encourage you to please make sure you are receiving our Gov delivery notices, which will announce when the round is opened and then direct you to where you can access the NOFA, the Notice of Funds Availability.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for your question.
As a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question at this time, please press *1 and clearly record your first and your last name for your question to be introduced. Again, that is *1. Our next question comes from Christy Lumen. Your line is now open. You may ask your question.
Hi there. Thank you. This is new to me, so I'm trying to familiarize myself with everything. I know you said earlier that the presentation is being recorded and will be available. Would we be able to just print the slides from the website to have that info?
Yes. Thank you for your question. Yes. So once the PowerPoint presentation and the recording are published to our website, yes, you can download, if you're just interested in the slides, you can download the slides from our website and print them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Vicki Frank. Your line is now open.
Yeah, hi there. Thanks for having this webinar. My question is can you clarify if the performance goals of lending that a CDFI signs up for as part of this application are kind of overlapping with anything with the FA Base Award or not, or any of the other awards? We asked the FA program team, and they weren't sure during that application process. And so CDFIs who have outstanding performance goals for lending with different programs, we're just wondering if you could provide in the Q&A later on clarity on that.
Sure. Thanks, Vicki. That's a good question. And actually, it may be one of our, it may be in our FAQ document. So you cannot count the small dollar lending that our award supports with your other PG&Ms. So in other words, there cannot be any double counting. I guess it's probably the best and most succinct way to say it. So your PG&Ms associated with your small dollar program awards are separate and distinct from the PG&Ms associated with your awards from the other CDFI fund programs.
Super, that's really clear and helpful. Yes, exactly the question and the answer, so I appreciate your clarity.
Great.
Do you know if we should be anticipating that the application might look similar to last year, if there'll be any significant changes if people want to start working on it?
Another good question, Vicki. It should be very similar to last year. Since we had the inaugural round last year, and by the way, for those of you who do not know, last year was the first year that we had funding for the program, and we got great demand for the awards. We had $13.5 million available to make awards for last year. And we received requests totaling over $26 million. So it was great demand, strong demand. So no, we don't anticipate many changes in the application for this year's funding round. And Julie and I have been working very hard on, identifying ways that we can actually make the application process a little more streamlined. So more to come on that once we open the round. But, so the application is pretty much going to be the same that it was last year.
Thank you all for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, and again, as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1. Our next question comes from Mary Esley. Your line is now open.
Yes, hello. My question's around if I've applied for the FA grant earlier this year, and I don't know the outcome of that grant. Can I apply for the small dollar loan one without jeopardizing the FA grant?
Yeah, so Mary, I don't, that's a different business unit that manages that award program. I don't have an update on where they are in their application process. So I encourage you to submit a service request, and the appropriate people can better answer your question.
Okay, and when do you anticipate that these awards will be made or announced?
Is your question when are we going to open the round?
Well, not when you're going to open, but when does the application process end, and when would we expect to hear whether or not we award?
Gotcha. Yeah, so once we open the round, the applications will be due 60 days after that, after we open the round. But we do plan to announce awards before the end of the fiscal year. So by September 30 of this year, we plan to announce the awards.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Deborah Harris. Your line is now open. You may ask your question.
Yes, I was listening. Now, this is my first time, our organization first time submitting a request to CDFI, and so we didn't receive any funding last year. Does that factor in? Would we have had to been a previous recipient to qualify?
No. You do not. You do need to be a certified CDFI and then, meet the other requirements as stated in the NOFA. So, once the NOFA is published, please review it very carefully as it identifies the eligibility criteria. And if you have any questions about anything, you can always reach out to us. But no, again, you don't have to, be a previous award recipient in order to apply for or receive future funds from us.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for your question.
You. Bye-bye.
And there are no further questions at this time.
Okay. All right, then. Well, again, we really appreciate you all taking the time to participate in this webinar. If questions come up after you've had some time to fully digest this webinar and after reviewing the materials once we post them to our website, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions. And before I conclude this call, I do want to thank you all for everything that you all do in your communities to support distressed communities, to support the unbanked and the underbanked. So thank you again for all that you do. And I, on behalf of Julie, Mike, wish you guys a good day. Take care.
Thank you for your participation. That concludes today's call. You may disconnect at this time.